What's going on, guys? Matt over here with Lethal Garage, and today we are doing something to a truck I can't afford.
You already did it.
Wait, what?
You can't afford it.
Oh, I can. So guys, we are here. We have a 2019 Dodge Ram Rebel, and we are putting, oh, this is Jay's 2 cents truck. If you guys don't know Jay, check him out.
Go play in the dirt.
He's the computer guy. That computer dude.
I already did donuts in the dirt.
Look at, he's even wearing a computer shirt. But yes, we got amp research side steps. We're gonna do a full install on this beautiful truck. I love this truck. I'm jealous. So I got my little baby Ram over there, little baby Ram hiding. But this is Daddy
Mine
Ram.
Small next to yours though.
Well,
and I hate the black.
You got new wheels and tires, so you're good.
Black.
Really?
Yeah, but that black comes with some of the packaging that I got with this truck, so I had no choice.
I like it. I think it looks good. I think we're talking too much. Let's get right into the amp research. We'll rip this box open. I'm not doing no traditional box opening. And I gotta read instructions because this is totally different than the amp research ones I put on my truck, which had different wiring, it required riv nuts and all that stuff. Supposedly,
these are direct bolt-on.
This directly bolts on a lot easier. So the nice thing is I could tell you if you guys have a, what, 09 to 18 Ram, I'll be able to speak to the differences because we put them on my truck and I never shot a video because it was late at night. So yeah, let's rip it open, do it. They kind of made this dummy proof. Driver's side, passenger side, but then they threw me a curveball with box number 3. It's the hardware kit and harness.
The 3 side, duh.
The 3 side. And then they nicely wrap up the side steps. So I believe on this install, it's just straight up. Like there's no cutting, adjusting, no nothing, right?
Yeah, because we're the crew cab, not the quad.
So Jay watched some install videos on this. I haven't, and then he's like, hey, you want to install it? I'm like, yes, we'll learn as we go. In the box, you're gonna get a little overwhelmed with all the different stuff they give you. They're gonna give you your LED lights, you're gonna have your main controller, your ODB port, you get lots of screws and a relocation mount. We'll show you exactly where that's at. You're gonna get your front and rear idler arms. So here's the rear, the front has the motor. You have your actual motors with the bolts that bolt it to the idler arms and all that stuff, and your main controller. Now, there's a lot here. We're gonna start with the driver's side because that has the relocation bracket, and basically the passenger side is everything but the relocation bracket. And then we'll run all the wires and make it look all pretty, get the lights hooked up, and be good to go. So let's head over to the driver's side, look at the individual parts and pieces underneath the truck, and see how we're gonna attack this. So we're under the truck. This is the main bracket right here that we have to relocate. So here's the new bracket that you're gonna get in your kit. Basically you're only reusing 2 of the screws out of the 3 that you have to, or bolts I should say. They say they're 10 millimeters, and they are. They didn't lie to you. You can use power tools if you want. At this point, it's not a big deal, but this is literally just a bracket that's holding a power harness in place. Let's speed through this. So this bracket is, there's no bolt or anything holding this bracket on to this wiring harness. It is literally just a tree clip, so you can pull that off and discard.
Weight savings.
Weight savings. And basically what this bracket is doing, and I believe it goes this, I could be wrong. I should go look at the picture. I should look at the picture. Let's go look at, no, it's this way, it has to be this way. Because that protects the top of the harness. Yes. And then it goes in at this epic angle. This harness is a little more frustrating. I wouldn't say frustrating, but takes a little more ingenuity. So you'll have your primary wire harness. Actually, it's going to the bottom side of that plug. And there's a clip, a little pop clip. I just used a finishing tool to pull it out. It was sitting right here. So here's the finishing tool I used. I just pulled that out. Gave me a little bit more flex, but the reason why you want that flex is because this harness, you need to bend this cable up and over, and it's gonna allow you to line those holes up where you pulled the bolts out. So yeah, it takes a little bit, but pulling that one clip gives you a lot more flexibility and allows you to shove it up in there. It's not hard by any means, but just know it's gonna take a little bit of pushing and pulling around. So I spared you me tightening those bolts, but there it is in place. And just to show you, no, oh, it might reach. We might be able to get the clip back. Maybe. Maybe not. Nope. Okay. Sorry, Jay. You're gonna have a floating clip.
Fired.
Step number 2. The next step here is installing the motors to the linkage. Now, we have a driver's side linkage here, and it comes with a dust cover on it. It sits all nice and pretty. And we have this beautiful motor, and this beautiful motor basically sits on like this, and it's really hard to do this. Jay, could you maybe hold the motor? The camera's like looking at my arm. So the motor sits on there beautifully like that. Well, it sits on there beautifully like that now because we ran into a small issue right out of the box. So what we were finding is basically the dust cover looked like this one, and this upper tab was blocking the motor no matter what orientation we did. So if you look at it off the motor, we had to trim that corner to get it to sit flush. Now, one thing I'll highlight is in the box, the passenger side was marked Dodge 2019. The hardware pack was marked Dodge 2019. The driver's side setup had no markings on it whatsoever. Is this a case of maybe wrong box? I don't know, but they're identical. The dust covers.
Right here that this won't go down because it hits the motor.
You can see the exact issue that we had. So, but when we trimmed it, fits perfect. Now, I contacted a couple people who have also done installs on their trucks, and they didn't have this issue. So
I think we got an 18 driver's side and a 19 passenger side on the hardware.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see if this hiccup puts us in a similar situation down the line of something else not lining up, but we'll find out. So attaching the motor, minus in our instance, we had to do a little trimming. The motor just lines up, sits on at a perfect angle, and the bolts are on your side. So you're gonna get bolts and washers. It is a 5/16? Oh gosh, washer flying. So you can hand tighten these, and then you want to crank them down at 16 pounds foot pounds. Get a nice shot of Jay in this one. So as you guys see here, you're gonna have 3 bolts on from factory if you have side steps. If you don't have side steps, I don't think these nuts will be here. Jay's truck did have factory side steps, so he kind of, I mean, they were already cleared off from factory, but if you didn't have any sort of side steps, you may have paint on these that you have to clear off. You can use a wire brush, or I grabbed a 14. Jay, you said this was 14. Clearly not 14.
Maybe it's a J14, which is a 13.
Now with the proper 13, and maybe oh nope, tightening it. Okay, so now, oh, is this the right one?
You need a gorilla pod.
This is gonna clear. Dude, this is tight. Ah, there we go. So the rear side is going to be a little bit easier. In this instance, Jay was trying to really be helpful, but what he realized he did is he made more work. Actually, I should have just got my power tools. I didn't, but here, we'll just get past all this. This one's really easy to get on. Nothing's in the way here.
Yeah.
No motor, no nothing. So just get your nuts back on and tighten her up. Yeah, we'll skip this part too, because you really don't need to see how to tighten nuts. We have the rear idler, the one without the motor attached in the back, and the one with the motor attached to the front. It's literally mirrored on the passenger side, so we're not gonna like show you that whole side because it's the same dang thing. The only difference is on the driver's side, you don't have to relocate a bracket on the passenger side. So follow those steps that we just went through. And now it's time to put the actual steps on. We have the side step here, just a couple things. So in your plastic bag, you obviously have the Allen hex bolts. On the step, there's gonna be 2 little metal things that slide. Jay's got his little slidey thing. I got my slidey thing. These little slidey things go into these little divots in the actual linkage. So you'll wanna make sure these are all the way down, and you may have to like adjust this a little bit in and out to get perfect alignment, because keep in mind, the motor and all that stuff is not in the exact proper position until they actually get power, but it's locked in position in the down position. Yeah, don't put your motor on with it in the up position, because then you'll be redoing that part. But we'll lift it up, we'll put it on. These thread from the bottom. The one thing to note is from the front fender well, Jay, if you can point where that's at.
Actually, it's 7.5 from the end of this to this.
Yeah, so basically you measure 7.5 inches, and that's where the end of the step goes, according to the instructions. So we're gonna follow that. I have no idea what I'm recording here, but
Theoretically, it's pointing at something important.
yeah, theoretically. You got yours?
I'm in on my side.
Do you have the
Yes, I do.
and then the So I don't think it's hard to see, it's just really cramped in here, but that metal tab sat inside there. You can see where the Allen bolts go into the bottom, and I just basically got the thread started. That will allow Jay to adjust the front. He kind of already marked where it needed to be, so now he's getting them cranked. He's gonna remeasure.
Well, I had to get started.
Yeah. So he's gonna measure, slide it, and then we can crank down on the bolts.
I think I got it.
Oh, look at that, first try.
Yep.
Perfect. So now it's just cranking down on the bolts. I believe they're 10-pound foot, or for those of you who like it, foot-pound, pounds of feet. Both sides on. What do you think of the look now, Jay? I say we just don't hang them up and we just leave it like
It looks
that.
like an old man's truck when they're down.
Well, what color's your hair? So at this point of the install, we are now running the wiring harness. Now there's the upper portion of the harness that goes into your battery, which is currently covered by our Gen 5 DIY fender covers. But there's parts that have to thread through that go into the firewall, and then there's also areas that just get ported through. So Jay's actually, there's basically a harness tray across the front of the truck that we're gonna attempt to run the harness through, so we don't have to drape it or zip tie it anywhere up across the vehicle. And then we're dropping the wire behind the water pump lines down to the controller and on the outside edge of the frame, not the inside edge, because that's where the exhaust and all that stuff is. And we'll zip tie it so it's nice and clean down at the bottom. On the other side, we'll do the same thing. We'll run the power cable for the motor and the power cable for the lights, because there are lights installed down at the bottom edge, and hook up all the power. So we're gonna run those cables down and get them zip tied up, and then we'll show you how all the connections up here go. So let's do that. So I'm currently underneath the driver's side of the vehicle. You could see where our cable's coming down right here on the, did I go on that? Yeah, on the outside edge of the frame. We'll end up zip tying it tight and close up in here. But you could see I ran the power cable through this hole right here so we can get this ran down the edge of the vehicle, and there was enough slack to then put this through here. Unfortunately, the head of that clip would not go through that hole, but it's a nice clean setup. And then basically we're gonna run these cables along the edge of the truck to connect the proper lighting. Now, the one thing to highlight is the lighting requires you to drill holes in the pinch weld. I've been talking with a couple people about it, and they said avoid drilling holes in the pinch weld because the pinch weld will eat your bits alive. I don't know what Ram made these pinch welds with, or metal with, or coating, or anything like that, but we'll see how it looks with and without around, and Jay will decide if he wants to try to drill or not. I got some nice bits, but we'll find out. Maybe our friends just had terrible drills. I don't know. We'll find out. So at this point, Jay has the control module, which I plugged in. So there's two plastic connectors that literally plug in. There's only one way to plug them in, so you can't mess those up. But at this point, it comes down to wire management. If you guys know Jay's 2 cents, his computers are wired to perfection, at least on the front side. Whatever you can't see, though. What do you have to say about that, Jay?
I have some builds where I would be proud to show the back end.
It's that one build.
I would show the back of the computer.
You know, his best wiring build was his build when they did we're gonna do everything the internet says not to do when you're building a computer, and they just put all the extra cables on top of the graphics card. That was glory.
It was madness, but it was
it was necessary.
Intentional madness.
Did you rip that off?
Yeah, it's a rubber band.
It said don't take this off.
Liar. It ain't a pillow.
So at this point, also, you have a negative terminal and a positive terminal. What they want you to do before you connect the positive terminal is pull the fuse out of the fuse block. So we'll do that, and that basically kills all the power to the system because it's a fused system. So we're now able to connect the power without messing with any of the motors or anything like that in the system. And then once everything's connected and wired in properly, then you add the fuse in, and then your system is live. So in this instance, connect your negative and positive and we'll be good to go. Run it how you want, get as anal as you want with the wiring. We'll show you exactly what Jay decides on once he's completely done here, and yeah, we'll go from there. So now we're at the fun part. It's really not that difficult. I always make this part more difficult than it is because you're poking a hole through a rubber orifice that is there from factory for the wiring harness. This video is not sponsored by Shock Top. I'm going to show you where that's at. So if you have a coat hanger or a copper wire, in this instance we could poke a hole, and we're going to use literally a 1/4 inch extension to shove through. We're going to wrap the wires around it. Actually, we're just going to tape a wire to it, feed it in, and pull it all the way back through, and that would be the purple wires. And it's a pretty skinny area, so it's meant to go all the way through up to this point right here where it starts getting thicker. That's meant to stay in the engine bay while all this goes into the truck. Now inside the truck, and I have my light in here, so excuse me, but this white grayish looking thing is that orifice, and I'm gonna attempt, oh, there's side steps I can lean on. So you can see this just pulls, and I can't see if the camera could see because my screen just went black, but you can see it pulls back, and there's that rubber orifice we have to poke a hole through and slide it through. So we're gonna go ahead and do that now. So we got the cable, so the 1/4 inch came all the way up. We got the cable pulled through. As you can see, it's getting pulled in.
Is that it?
You got a little more. Keep going, keep going. You're good, right there. Perfect, in. So this is what it looks like on this end. We literally pushed it through, taped the purple wires to the end, and pulled it through the grommet hole. Yay. So at this point, there is a panel on the side of your dash that we have to remove. You can easily remove your weather stripping. It just sits right on there and pinches on.
Yeah, now I want the finishing tool to get this.
Oh no, it just pops right off. Easy.
There we go.
So Jay just reached around from the bottom corner and got it to pop.
Right here.
And it looks like we're trying to get up into here, and I could see the pin out right there. There's two little green. Ah, your hands are in the way. There's two green things. You see them right almost in the center of the camera. Oh, light. I gotta make sure to not block the light. Jay's trying to reach up to point to it, but that's where one of the cables is going that we're gonna be messing with. So we're gonna go do that, and I'm gonna do my best to capture it on camera. Let us figure out orientation. We just found out this whole plastic clip, it just clips on the metal, like on those little plastic ledges.
Down.
But all you have to do is plug in, so in your box you have the ODB port, and then there's this plug here. This could plug in, it says in the instructions, any green port. There's a lot of green ports. So in any of those ports, you're good to go. Obviously with the orientation, it was sitting like this when we were looking at it while it was in there. But with that back in there, I'm assuming we'll want to plug into the bottom one, so that way we have as much slack as possible to get to the ODB. And then also we have to squeeze together these wires. Now they do provide these little screw together things, but we're gonna solder and shrink wrap these because that's the proper way you should do things. But they make these kits to assume you don't have that stuff, and I believe that's the right way to do it. But if you do have solder and shrink wrap, do it the right way.
Agreed.
So if you are installing these on your own, you're probably doing other projects with your truck, and it makes sense to get your own soldering gun. I got a really cheap soldering gun off Amazon, some solder, shrink wrap. This actually is a solder gun and a torch. So once I'm done soldering, I can let it cool off, take the tip off, and then use the torch to heat shrink the heat shrink. These are the connectors they actually give you. They unscrew on both sides. You put the wires in, you tighten them, they tight. These work. These are good. I mean, it's going to be fine. They're inside your truck. You're not going to have any outside weather or anything getting to them, but still I prefer this method if you have it. Now, again, it's pretty cheap to do it. If you're working on your truck, I encourage you to buy yourself a soldering set. So we got heat shrink soldered together. Now we just got to get this plug into the green thing. And we're basically wired up for the motors and everything. Jay's gonna route cables around, and this is his truck, so at least I'll feel better knowing that he routed the cables the way he wants.
I already had to flip my computer port around. It was installed in here backwards. Thanks, Dodge.
You mean Ram?
Yeah, same. Okay, thanks, Fiat.
Oh, those are fighting words. Ram failed at mounting his ODB port.
Yeah, they did.
OBD?
It's OBD2.
Am I saying that backwards?
Yeah.
OBD. It's like PCV and PVC. I do that all the time because I used to work in landscape and I say PVC all the time instead of PCV. I'm a terrible human.
So you know the
opioids,
kids.
I don't do drugs, I promise. These are no sleep bags.
So I'm finding it easier to not have it plugged into the computer port.
Oh, you had it plugged in? Yeah,
well, I was checking the slack. I had to make sure we had the slack.
He's fired.
So now we're gonna plug it in down here.
Is that how mine was? No, mine had to be soldered into like special wires, right?
And that goes right there.
See, this one, all of the things that are controlled by the door, they have like a little module. They did it right in 19. The 18s and older, totally different. The install on this is so much easier. And we're just recording the back of Jay's head right now because that's important. So what Jay's trying to do right now is get that green module, which he just slid in place.
Back on the steps.
So now we can see it all back in place. We have the ODB. I said it right. I said it right, and then I caught myself saying it right. Dang it.
ODB.
ODB. OBDDBDDB. Yeah.
There.
Overly beautiful.
It's in.
Never mind. So at this point right now, everything's live. Like, we haven't hooked up the lights yet. It's okay. We don't need to hook those up for this point. There's no exposed wires on the end of those, so that's good. We're all connected. So at this point, the fuse is right there. I put the fuse there. So if we add the fuse,
it should go up.
I don't know if we have to open the door and then close it to trigger it for the first time.
You want to open the door?
Oh, let's find out. Ah,
Oh, snap.
look at that. Did the other side go up? They are kind of out a little bit, huh?
But they didn't catch.
Wait, let me see that side versus this side. Are they? It doesn't look bad though. Nice. They work. Now it's time to wire some LEDs. You install your lights, so there's wire placements that you see Jay messing around with here. I can't talk, messing around with.
I'm contagious.
He's messing around with them, black and red. Obviously connect them properly. It comes with these little connectors. Do you have one? Did you just cut your finger open?
I just stabbed myself.
He stabbed himself.
With a
So you'll see these little fittings. So Jay's bleeding everywhere. I'll let him just bleed. The fittings go on there from them. They crimp on. If you don't have a proper crimper, go get one. But crimp it on and heat it up, and it tightens up, and it's weatherproof. You're good to go. Now, we attempted to be epic and be like, yeah, we're gonna put heat shielding on here and do blah blah blah, but that didn't work out so well because there's not really enough slack on either end, and so we ended up doing heat shielding, a big fat piece on top of the whole thing, so it looks all black underneath. It's like one of those things you're never gonna see, but it's like, let's do it because we're just being dumb.
You feel better knowing it's there.
Do you? But do you really feel better? Because I didn't feel. I left mine just like that.
Oh.
Whatever.
I would feel bad.
But you hook them up, lights work, open the doors, done and done. So outside of that, that basically wraps up the install. Let's see how this truck looks all said and done. And yeah, we'll do the walk around. We'll do a walk around with the up and down, and then we'll have them completely down, because you can, a little trick here, if you apply pressure to the step with the door, like when you close the door and you keep the pressure on, they'll stay in the down position the entire time. And like Jay went fishing for the piece he lost. So that being stated, we'll show you all those cool little features here. Project complete. Now, all in, this project's pretty easy to do. They rated from a 1 to 4, a 4 experience. I would say compared to my 2018 Dodge Ram, this was night and day easier because you didn't have to deal with the rivets. The bolts were already in place. Everything was good. As far as the final product, you can see Jay got his wiring down really nicely. He trimmed the red cap a little bit to get this wire down. You'll see the fuse is tucked in right here. And then we have the module tucked in back over here with the negative cable connected. Now we do have the main harness running across the front lip. We zip tied it to the Ram wiring harness. We found that this cover is almost impossible to take off. We wanted to really run the wire in here, and we found out why AMP Research didn't tell you to do that, because this is just really hard to get off. So it is what it is, but we did run the wire straight down on the outside of the frame rail, both sides. You can see the truck when you open the door. They come right down. It's hard to see the lighting, but you can kind of see the lights are obviously on. And then one of the cool features, so if you put weight on here and close the door, they stay down. So it's a safety feature per se if something got stuck on there, or a child or whatever. But to make it go back up at that point, you just open it. You'll see it went all the way back down. You close it, it goes back up. It's really nice. I love these steps. I loved them on my last generation Dodge, which I have over here. I think they look great on this truck. They do stick out a little bit further along the edge of the truck than they do on the previous models from the last generation Ram 1500s, but it still looks good. It's a nice clean look. You don't have those big tubes. They hang down far enough to where you can actually take the step and not have to feel like you're lifting your legs up really high to get on there. And I literally lifted my leg up, and I'm like, lift your legs up really high. Yeah.
I like the angle it's at though, because although it doesn't go up flat like yours, like tucks all the way, at least it kind of follows the body contour.
Yeah, it's a clean look. So, and they're functional. Obviously, they work on the front and back doors. Bam. It's an awesome product. It's cheaper if you buy it through Amazon. So if you guys want to buy this product, don't go to the AMP Research site for it. Go to Amazon.com. I put a link down below. I am an Amazon associate. I have to say that. But if you click that link, I do get a percentage of the sale, potentially, if you buy it through that link. So it's awesome. Helps the channel, all that great stuff.
And it doesn't cost them any more money.
And it literally does not cost you any money to support the channel that way. So, well, maybe it did because I convinced you to buy a product because you like the way it looked. Then I'll take blame for that.
Hey, they're expensive, but I think it fits both needs I needed. The wife needed steps. I'm almost 6'4". I don't need steps. The wife needs them. The kids need them. I don't like the way steps look. So they're there when you need them. They go away when you don't, and then it was worth the cost.
And I put mine on my truck before I put the lift kit on it, and so it was kind of weird that I had them. My wife is 4'11". She's tiny. She loved it. And all my kids love it. They're all still small. They're not teenagers or anything like that. But it's just one of those things. And once the lift kit was there, then it was like, yes, I am so happy these are here, because it's just really easy to walk into the truck. So that's all I got. If you guys enjoyed the video, likes, comments, shares, always appreciated. Big shout out to Jay's 2 cents again for letting me help him with the install. He actually did a lot of the install today too. So
really, when the wiring part came across, or it was time to do that.
Hey, I didn't want to try to do better wiring than Jay, because that's like trying to say I can't think of a good acronym, or I can't. Never mind.
You know what though? I mean, it's already fully harnessed and it's fully sleeved and it's got wire loom on it. It looks good. I think no matter what you do with it.
Yeah. So you really can't mess it up.
Just make sure
it's
you're
really
clearing
hard.
The wheel wells and the exhaust.
Yeah. Just make sure you're not wrapping it around your cats and your exhaust or your drive line. Just wrap it right here. You're good. That's all I got. Thanks for watching, guys. Until next time. See you on the road.